The BMW 1M was produced in 1 year only. Here in the United States, it was model year 2011. It's powered by the N54 engine, producing 335 horsepower and 370 foot-pounds of torque on overboost. Only 740 were produced here in the United States. BMW owns one of them, so 739 were for sale to the public. They only come with a manual transmission, as you see here. They are all rear-wheel drive and were only available in 3 colors. This color is Valencia Orange, which was actually the highest number produced with 309 examples. The other colors are Black Sapphire and Alpine White. Black Sapphire is actually the rarest color. The car weighs just under 3,300 pounds, and according to Car and Driver, does a 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. Now on with the video. Hey guys, it's Glenn from glenscarcollection.com, and today is my 4-year review of my BMW 1M. And this, who knows, it could be the most famous 1M there is. This is the 1M that Doug Demuro reviewed on his channel, has over 1 million views now. If you watch that video, he'll talk about Glenn's car collection, and you can hear me talking in the passenger seat. The camera was on Doug, but you can hear it here. So right now, I've had the car for 4 years, actually over 4 years, and we'll go through the whole car. The features, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Remember, if you like these type of videos, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Hit the subscribe to our channel so I can keep making videos. And as always, leave a comment below. And if you're already a subscriber, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Now let's take a look at the interior. All right, so let's take a look at the interior. It's basically a 1 Series interior. They put some fancy bits here, like the Alcantara right here, and the orange stitching on the door. Now keep in mind, no matter what exterior color you have, which is black, orange, or white, it always has the orange stitching. The interiors are exactly the same. Now this car has every single option available, so it has the navigation. If you didn't have the navigation, it would be flat here. With the navigation, you have the room for the screen. It has the heated seats. It has the Harman Kardon stereo. Every available option. You can look at my 1M versus M2 videos where I go over every single option in the window sticker. And if I remember correctly, the MSRP for this car fully loaded with every available option was $54,555. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start the car. You have the start button right here. I have the comfort access where you don't have to keep the key in the car. Otherwise, you would put the key in the slot here. And let's start it up. So we're going to put it in neutral and now press the start button. Now, one thing about this car is they're pretty quiet from the factory, so I have a full exhaust on the car. This is the N54 engine, as you know. I have an N55 mid-pipe and a Borla Attack catback exhaust, and the Borla sounds great in this car. Now, one of the reasons I think BMW pumps fake sounds in all the new cars is my complaint with this car is it sounds great from the outside, but you can hear very little on the inside. So I think that's why all the sounds you hear in this car are natural, none are pumped in through the stereo, and I think that's why they do it now, just because this car was on the quiet side. All right, as you can probably see here, I have 17,440 miles. I bought this car 4 years ago with 10,000 miles. So I only put 7,000 miles in 4 years, but keep in mind, I usually have 8 cars at a time. And since I bought this car 4 years ago, I probably had 30 different cars. So even if I'm driving 30 or 40,000 miles a year, I'm splitting them over, 8 cars. So it only comes out to 1,000 miles each car, because obviously the daily drivers are getting most of the mileage, and I use this as a weekend car. Overall, the interior is holding up great. And again, I only have 17,000 miles, so keep that with a grain of salt. But there's really no scratches or scuffs anywhere. I mean, I take care of my cars, so I'm careful with them. But there is really no wear and tear in it here at all. It's almost like a car with 5,000 or 10,000 miles. Now here you have your steering wheel controls. So this is your M button. And what that does is give you the extra torque on overboost. It makes the throttle response sharper. You can play around with different CDs here. This, you answer the phone. You have Bluetooth from your phone, and you can make the volume for the music or your phone call louder or softer. let's give it one acceleration run. Wow, it just sounds so good. Now again, we have a aftermarket exhaust on here, but it is too quiet. You have to do something. That's something I would recommend, is getting some kind of exhaust for this car and keep the stock one for resale value. It is just too quiet from the factory. Now when you own a car like this, you really have to go find some good back roads. New Jersey here, we have all the potholes and rough roads, but if you can find some good driving roads, this car is great. The ride quality is actually very good in this car. I don't really consider it too stiff, but again, it depends what you're coming from. So if you're driving a Camry and a Accord and you come to this car, then yeah, it's going to be stiffer, but I think this is probably less stiff than the BMW M2, or certainly for sure less stiff than an M3 or an M4. And this car is just a blast when those turbos kick in. Let's see here, it's about 3,000 RPM, you get that shove. Going to 4,000 there, it never gets old. So now this car this is a 2011. My first car that had this was a 2008 E90 M3, where with the clutch, it'll hold it on hills. So if you're new to driving stick, and remember there's no other choices but a manual transmission, and you're on a steep hill, it'll actually brake the car and hold it on that hill for 2 seconds so you won't roll backwards. Never gets old accelerating in this car. Now this car, unlike the M2 or some modern sports cars, is you need to heel toe downshift yourself. So I was behind my friend's M2 when we were doing a run through the mountains up here, and yeah, the cars are pretty equal. Maybe the M2 is slightly faster, and again, you can see my M2 versus 1M comparison test where I compare both of the cars. But I noticed I'm doing a lot more work. So the M2 is very easy to drive fast. It's very forgiving. It rev matches for you on downshifts, where I am really working it to keep up with the 1M. But I love that I'm working it. I love that I have to do the downshifts myself. I love that I have the hydraulic steering, which the M2 doesn't. I love that this car is a beast and I have to kind of tame it to keep it in line. So if you're really into driving and overall involvement, you will definitely like the 1M better. If you want something easier to drive, faster, and the latest side drive and all that other stuff, you may be better off with the M2. If you need a back seat, then you're definitely going to be better off with the M3. More acceleration! Never gets old with this car. Now again, because it's turbocharged, you don't have the high revving nature, say, of the E90 M3 or my E46 M3. So here the red line is about 6,500. All right, so how does the car drive? Well, it still drives amazing. It's still, even though it's a 2011 and we're filming this in 2018, so it's 7 years old, it still drives like a brand new car. Now, obviously, this car's always been garaged. It only has 17,000 miles on it, but it literally drives like a brand new BMW. When I got my M2 new, this did not seem like an old car. If you drove this car or sat in it and you thought it was a brand new BMW with 0 miles, you would believe it. And I can't get over how quick this car is. I mean, it's just so fast and such a blast to drive. I've had it for 4 years. I get bored easily. I switch cars every 12 months, and this car is a keeper for me. It is that good. All right, guys, so what do I love about this car? Well, one thing is hydraulic steering. Even my BMW M2 has electric steering. The S2000 has electric steering. And what a joy is from going to those cars into this car. And hydraulic steering, you feel everything on the road, and it is fantastic. I also love that it only comes in stick. I love that it's rear-wheel drive. And what I also love is exclusivity. Very rarely, now I have a friend who just bought a 1M, and it happens to be Valencia Orange as well, and he lives in the same town as me. But normally, if you have a 1M, you'll be the only one that has it. You go to a car show or Cars and Coffee, you do a group with other drivers of various cars or BMWs. Since there were so few built, you'll be the only one driving a 1M, and I really, really love that. And again, you got 3 great colors to choose from. You got one of the few cars out there that you can buy for less than 100 grand that goes up in value almost every year. And you can't say that really about any car. The cars that go up in value every year are already over 100 grand, and they're classics. Not too many of them are modern classics. But this could be a car. You know, we have a guy on the forum you know, he has over 100,000 miles on his BMW 1M. He bought it with miles and he drives it every day. So this could easily be a daily driver. You know, every time I get in this car, I go, how come I'm not driving this car every day? And the reason is I don't want to commute to work with it and get stone chips and dents and scratches. But so I use it primarily as a fun to drive or weekend car. You know, I take it to hockey, put the hockey bag in front. I can fit the sticks in here, no problem. The back seat's a little tight, so if you need a back seat, this may not be the best car for you. The BMW M2 definitely has a bigger back seat. I can sit in the back seat of an M2. Being 6 feet tall, I can't sit in the back of this car. So to me, this is more almost like a 2+2. If you have small children or small adults, they can probably fit in the back. But, you know, you're not going to fit a 5'10" or 6'2" adult in the back there. Now, if you're used to a modern car, this is a 2011 model, so there's no backup camera. The only thing available are sensors on the rear bumpers that obviously beep, and you actually get, comes up on your screen here too. If you're in reverse, if something's near you, it'll flash different colors so you know you're close to backing into something. Okay, so besides basic maintenance, I had to replace a set of tires. Now, the rear tires wore out. I replaced them maybe with 15, 16,000 miles. I don't drive this car in the winter, so there was no salt, so it wasn't like I had snow tires. Rear tires were replaced, I'm trying to think, probably with about 16,000 miles on it. And I have the Michelin Pilot Sport tires. And then the front tires were replaced just now with like 17,000 miles. They had a ton of tread left, but they were original from 2011. So I replaced a whole set of tires. Now, there are a lot of tire choices available for the car. You can get the PS4s, you can get the Super Sports. Another thing I don't like the car, and it's just annoying and it's easily fixed, is that there's a plug down here for the radar detector. There's no plug in the center console or by the shifter where I can run my radar detector up here. It's all the way in the back under the center armrest. So you have to move the center armrest, plug it in, and then if you try to stretch the radar detector to here, it either doesn't stretch even with a longer cord, or you have to stretch it in the middle here to get it closer, and then it kind of blocks you with your shifter. So now that can be easily solved, and I've talked to other 1M owners. Obviously, they just hardwire a wire up here and keep their radar detector. So that's a winter project that I will do. But, you know, if you're used to driving with the radar detector, that's a little annoying, so you probably want to do a hard wire. Now, where this car lives is in the twisty, so I love taking this car out on either windy back roads or highway exit ramps. Now, it is a twitchy car. If you have a lot of driving skill, I think you will love this car because you kind of get to tame it. If you have average driving skill, you may be better off with a BMW M2 or some car that's a little more electronic, and it'll just be easier to drive fast. Now, what other cars did I consider before buying this one? Well, I actually wanted to buy a BMW 1M when they came out in 2011, but all my local dealers wanted 30,000 over sticker, and most people that bought them were paying over sticker. So really, I had to wait to 2014 till I found one at or below sticker price. So I bought this car with 10,000 miles on it. Again, fully loaded with all these options. It has every single option available. It was $54,555, I believe, and I love it. I would say the values have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years. I've been offered for this car, when I said I was selling my whole collection, several people offered me between $65,000 and $70,000 for this car, and again, it has 17,000 miles. And I would say the low mileage cars, 5,000 to 10,000 miles, are probably in that 85,000 range. And even at that price, I still think this car is worth it. It's a one-of-a-kind car. It only comes in stick shift. It's rear-wheel drive, and it was only made 1 year. I remember in the Mecum auctions, they had a lot of Ford GTs go through the auctions. One of the people that know cars or guests that they had, they said there's really only two modern classics, two cars that came out in recent modern years, including the Ford GT, that have been instant classics that still for this day sell over the sticker when they were new. And the Ford GT is obviously one of them, and he said the other is the BMW 1M. So I even think at these prices, it's a good buy. It'll definitely be a six-figure car one year. It's my favorite M car, and I've had 5 of them. So if you're not familiar with the channel, I've had an M2, a Z3M coupe with the S54 engine, an E90 M3, and an E46 M3, and this is my favorite out of all those cars. So if you came to me and said you can have any one of those cars, this is the one I would pick by far. And I love those other cars if you follow the channel. It's got the N54 engine. My car is bone stock except for the exhaust. I have a full exhaust, like I mentioned before, an N55 mid-pipe and a Borla Attack catback exhaust. But I have this stock pieces, could easily put it back to stock. It's the N54 engine, so it does respond well to mods. I know a Cobb tune, I think, was like 600 bucks and gave you another 100 foot-pounds of torque. So this car stock has 335 horsepower, and with overboost with the M button can be up to 10 seconds of 370 foot-pounds of torque. Now Motor Trend put these cars, now how is it so fast? It has a 0 to 60 time of 4.7 seconds according to most car magazines, but it feels even faster than that. Well, with 335 horsepower, how can this car possibly be that fast? Well, the engine is really underrated. Matt Farrer mentions it in his video. Motor Trend put this car in a dyno, and you can look up that video, and it was producing close to 330 to the wheels. I believe it was 325 to the wheels or 329 to the wheels. So obviously it has a lot more horsepower than 335, and it is very tunable if you want to make big power. Now, of course, you can save a lot of money getting a 135, and I'm sure you can tune it and build it to be faster and more powerful than a 1M is. And absolutely, that's a great way to do it if a 1M is out of your price range. The roads in New Jersey are shit. They're so bumpy. So forgive the camera shake from this. But, you're not going to have the collectability of 1M, but you can certainly build a great car. So what do I like best of the 1M? I think it's really the handling and how small the car is. So the car is only 172 inches long. Just to give you an idea, a BMW M2 is about 176 inches long, and so is an E46 M3. My NSX is 178 inches long. So here you have a car that's 6 inches shorter than my 2005 NSX and 4 inches shorter than an E46 M3. So it is the right size. I love that it only comes in stick shift. So the good thing about shopping for a BMW 1M is every single car is stick. You don't have to look at the pictures to see if it's an automatic or a dual clutch or single clutch transmission. They're all stick shifts, so you really just pick your color. I always buy these cars on condition. A lot of these cars have been tracked hard. People bought them as track cars and tracked the heck out of it, so you don't want a car that's been tracked. When you buy a car, you're really buying the owner of that car as much as you're buying the car itself. So I always look for a highly maintained car. Now, when I bought this car in 2014, BMW still had a 4-year, 50,000-mile free maintenance. So when I bought it, I had 1 year left on the free maintenance and 1 year left on the bumper-to-bumper warranty. But I've had no issues. I always service it on time. I do a yearly oil change no matter how often I drive it. I don't abuse the car, and it runs great. And again, it's only got 17,000 miles. If it had 100,000 miles, it may be a totally different story. But I've had no problems with the car at all. And I've had all the services done on time. If you highly maintain your car and you don't abuse it, I think it should be fine. Now, what are some things? We went over what I loved about the car. We went over values then and values now. And I think the next thing to go over is what I don't like. There are a couple of nitpicky things. Again, I touched on this before. The chassis is very nervous. So if you have a lot of driving skill and you can tame it, it's great. So I think it's awesome. But again, if you're, if you're coming, this is your first rear-wheel drive car, it may be difficult to handle. It gets sketchy as you approach the limit. So maybe a good idea would be to do an autocross and just kind of learn where the handle limits are. That's obviously going to be safer than going to a big track where you could really mess up and have more severe consequences. The only other thing and it's a nitpicky thing, is the seat. I can't get the seat any lower. So I'm 6 feet tall. I have a ton of headroom. I could easily, if I wanted to, wear a helmet for this car. But I'd like to get the seat a little lower. I feel like I'm sitting on the car instead of in the car. So even the M2, the Z3M coupe, you feel like you're sitting down lower. With this car, the seat doesn't go any lower than it is right now. And I just feel that I'm looking down at the steering wheel. This is a total exaggeration, but it's almost feel like you're driving a bus instead of a sports car. Okay, what about future values? Is the 1M going to continue to go up in value? Well, as far as going up in value, you know, cars' values are going to follow the economy. They're going to follow the stock market. So every car, no matter how collectible it is always going to have some ups and downs. So you're never going to buy a car and it's going to go up 100% for 10 years in a row. There may be six or 7 years it goes up, and then a couple years that it goes down. But I think the 1M is a great place to put your money. How many cars can you name that will actually go up in value where you probably won't lose a dime if you buy the right one? And I think the 1M is that car. And if I were going to buy it, I would probably buy it in Valencia Orange. I love that color, but I think that's kind of like the signature color for this car. And typically, you know, when cars reach their peak values 20 or 30 years after they've been made, usually that signature color gets the best value. So I would definitely go for an orange, you know, a highly maintained car, probably as low miles as possible, and a car that's stock, or at least a car that you can put back to stock. But I think it's well worth the money. I can definitely see this car as a six-figure car down the road, and I think you're going to be kicking yourself that you didn't buy one at $65,000. All right, guys, well, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching all the way through this 4-year review of my BMW 1M. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment below what you think of the 1M as far as future values, or if you're looking to buy one, if you have any questions. And remember to hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video.